Before we start tonight's review, just want to make a brief reminder to all you all, if you are just now tuning in, if you're new to the channel, or if you have yet to do so, if you guys would like to see a television review, first impressions done right here on OAW Entertainment, become a patron of OAW at patreon.com/OAW and select that blockbuster tier. And with that being said, this is my review of the first episode of the Disney Plus original series coming courtesy of Marvel Studios, and that is none other than She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Let's get it started.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Greetings to everyone watching live and everyone watching after the fact. Shout out to the faithful and salute to the patrons. This is Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, here to bring you all surprisingly a little television review for all you. I know I got some people in the chat already commenting, "Oh my God, Larry, what were you thinking?" Yeah, a lot of people were not expecting me to go ahead and check this series out, mainly because, well, for a couple of reasons, but just off the top of my dome, just a lot of you guys who follow the channel know that, Marvel's kind of been, haven't really been my bag recently. A lot of their new series and their new movies I've kind of backed off from just because of some of the material and some of the content in those productions. So this one will probably be a surprise, but you know what? It's all good and it's all gravy. Went ahead, checked out the first episode yesterday. I got some thoughts to talk about it, so I figured I'd share it with you folks. So now, real quick, before I jump into the review, just want to give you all a brief reminder. If time permits, I'll go ahead and check out some of your comments, what you guys think about the show. So please feel free to start leaving those in the comments below. But if you absolutely positively want to make sure your comment gets read before the end of tonight's broadcast, you can always drop a super chat. Those are greatly appreciated. They help out the channel. But if you also want to support the channel, can't do so monetarily, guys, if you enjoy this, please give me a thumbs up, give me a like, share the link, tell your friends, hit it, spread it on social media, because that helps the channel in an enormous way too. All right, cool. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into this review. All right, let me go ahead and pull up my graphics. Yeah, let's do it like this. All right, guys. And also for a brief description of the series, I will be referring to the description box below. So by all means, if you feel so inclined, please feel free to read along with me below. And let me get this pulled up because I actually hadn't prior. All right, so let's do the thing. All right, so this is my review of the 2022 American television series She-Hulk Attorney at Law, created by Jessica Gao and based on the Marvel Comics character. It is they got 8 of these now. It's the 8th television series in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, also known as the MCU, produced by Marvel Studios, with Gao serving as head writer and Kat Coiro leading the directing team. And a brief synopsis of the season 1, episode 1, entitled "A Normal Amount of Rage." Jen Walters' world is turned upside down after a freak accident leaves her with superpowers. That is a very, very brief synopsis of this episode. All right, so let me go ahead and break it down a little bit further for you all. So essentially what we got in this first episode is the origin story. And not the origin story of how Jen becomes a superhero necessarily, but how she obtained her gamma radiation and how she ended up becoming a She-Hulk. So we got a couple of changes to the origin story for any of my viewers who are familiar with the She-Hulk comics. Originally, Jennifer was wounded in an assault. If memory serves, I believe it was an assassination attempt against Bruce. Jennifer gets caught in the crossfire. She ends up taking a bullet, and so in order to save her life, Bruce does a blood transfusion, right? That's the origin in the comics. In this one, what we got is we have a peculiar car accident caused by an unidentified, well, actually, no, we do know it was a Scarcarian, I think is how they pronounced it, alien vessel that came down clearly for the Hulk, but took Jen by surprise and forced her off the road. And so in the in the aftermath of that accident, as she's going to rescue Bruce from the vehicle, of course, Bruce is bleeding from his head. Jen is bleeding in her arm. His blood drips into her arm, gets into her bloodstream, and that's how she gets the gamma radiation poisoning. So we have a couple of brief instances where she transforms and she's unaware of it. That's where we start getting these black screens and these blackout events. And it's not until she wakes up on a remote island off the coast of Mexico with Smart Hulk that we finally get the explanation and the exposition about what happened. And that's when she undergoes her training to learn how to control her Hulk abilities. By episode's end, we are pretty much back at the beginning of where the episode led off, because this whole thing was done in flashback. And that is the formal setup for what should be the initial pilot, where Jen is in the courtroom and it is attacked by a supervillain of sorts. And Jen pretty much blows her cover off top, transforms, takes care of the villain, and then that's where we leave off. So yeah, essentially the way this episode breaks down, like I said, shout out to my man Script Doctor. If you all have not seen his YouTube channel, but Script Doctor said it best, courtesy of Midnight's Edge, over when they did their breakdown the other night, where he said it's more of a prologue than a pilot. And this was before I saw the episode, so I'm like, okay, that's an interesting comment. Now I see what he's talking about. Now I see what he means, because this episode, again, the way they do it here, but even more so the way we have seen other series do it, where they have these entire backstories, but it's all, again, backstory. It happened in the past. We get in the flashback. This is one of those. Like, this story took, like, this is not the pilot. This is the pitch. Right? Oddly enough, too, this is something I would have expected to see, like if we ever got that Hulk sequel that we never got, right? If they ever decided to set She-Hulk up previously, like in a previous film or something, this would have been that story, right? But this is not the, I guess, the best pilot for what the show is going to be. And that brings me to pretty much, what did I think of it? So check it. I actually dug it. I didn't mind it. I thought it was okay. Here's the problem, though. I know that the rest of the series isn't going to be like this episode, because the rest of the series is supposed to be one part legal procedural and 2-part comedy sitcom. So I know this isn't what we're going to be. Pretty much the show is going to be what we got in that very first scene in her office, and then what happened at the end in the courtroom. Everything in between that, nope, that was all just set up. So I think it's already confirmed Mark Ruffalo is only going to be in one other episode this season. So we're only going to see Hulk pop up again once. But yeah, like, I think that the series is going to be more of what we saw in the commercials and in the trailers, which is kind of funny because so much of this episode so much of this was in the trailer, which that explains a lot too. But yeah, so I've kind of already picked up on that it's like, even though I didn't mind this one, I already know I'm not going to be getting more of this moving forward. So that is a tad bit disappointing, and it'll probably put me back to where I was, where it's like, okay, yeah, Marvel, you lost me. Okay, I'm going back and watching, I'm gonna go watch Bastard or something else, right? I get that feeling. But all right, so now that I've gone pretty much let you all know what the episode is about. Okay, as I said, I didn't mind it. So here's the next question. How well is it actually executed? Okay, couple of things. So writing-wise, plot-wise, I didn't really find too many problems with the way in which it was written. But there are a couple of things that we don't quite know. Like there are a couple of events that happened in this episode. We don't really know what the aftermath of those things were, particularly the 2 times when Jen hawks out and she blacks out and she can't remember what happened. What we don't know what damage she caused in those events. And it stands to reason that since she is an attorney, and she will soon become a popular public figure, because we know what ends up happening to her character later in the season, based off of the trailers and whatnot, where she's supposed to be this legal representative for superpower beings. Like, I'm like, okay, so we're just going to ignore the fact that she beat up a bunch of dudes outside of this bar just because they were trying to talk to her. All right. We just gonna ignore that happened, right? Okay. And then but outside of that, like, everything else in terms of the plot for this episode seems okay. Now I know there's been some question about some implausibilities about what she's able to do versus what Hulk is able to do, and seeing as how it's her first time learning how to use these powers, like what she shouldn't be able to do and what she should. But the thing was, She-Hulk always had that sort of like power difference in the comics. She was always able to, like, change at will. She always had more of like a better grasp of her abilities, more so than Hulk did, because she was never written with the same conflict that Bruce did. Bruce was all like, okay, as they mentioned in the episode, the biggest thing is she doesn't have an alter ego. She's still the same person in both forms, whereas we know Bruce has at least one alter ego, if not multiple, right? So she never had that conflict, and because of that, like, she's able to do things that took Bruce longer to do. Now, I will say this, and this is the part of the show that I hope they finally do explore more, because what we get in this episode is bullshit in terms of this explanation. But this notion that she actually is stronger than Hulk, okay, we know that's bullshit, and that's always been bullshit, even in the comics. But again, what do you define as strength is my question. Hulk will always be the most powerful, because the dude was so powerful, they fucking shipped his ass off of the planet, right? Because they couldn't kill him. They couldn't get rid of him. So the best case scenario was, we'll just get him off world, right? Like, that's we know how powerful the Hulk can be because of what we've seen in the comics. But in terms of stronger, where it's like, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but if you don't know how to control that power, which is essentially Bruce's whole fucking point in this series, because Jen believes that she's capable of handling it on her own. She'll get the grasp of it, all that type of thing. And Bruce is like, no, you clearly don't know what you're dealing with. Let me teach you something. Stop trying to walk around like you a know-it-all, and actually listen to people who have gone through things you haven't gone through. Which, for the record, I really did like that, because the thing about it is, and I know some people have said it's like, oh well, the way they wrote Jen in that fashion made her unlikable or insufferable, right? And I see what they mean, because Jen has always been like, if you're familiar with her in the comics, she is that cocky, and she is that confident, and she is borderline fucking arrogant. The thing about it, though, is the way it's handled in the comics, it does come from a confidence. Yeah, okay. You know what? That's a better way to put it. In the comics, it comes from more of a confidence place as opposed to an arrogant place, right? And in here, it's more so, it comes across as more arrogant here because she's such a novice, right? So again, it's that whole, I hate to bring this up, but I got to do it. I got to do it because it's one of the biggest arguments that fans have made in regards to these properties in the last couple of years, particularly the ones coming out of Disney, and particularly the ones who are now female-centric or female-led. The popular argument is that there is a disconnect between the manner in which these female characters are being written and the manner in which they're being presented, and the manner in which they're being presented to a predominantly male audience. Because let's be honest about this. This is still geek shit we're talking about. It is still predominantly male. That is still the predominant audience for this. The predominant consumer. And so, of course, when those characters don't resonate with said consumer base, and said consumer base shares their opinion on it, then the industry decides that they want to buck back against that. And that's when you start getting all of the, oh, well, there's toxic fans and istophobes and this is that and the third, misogyny this, sexist that, all that nonsense that we hear coming off of the airwaves, right? Well, a big part of that has to do within these narratives, particularly narratives that are more, I guess you could say, male-centric in the manner in which who that intended reader or who that intended watcher is, right? There are certain stories that are play better to a male demographic. The fucking hero's journey, the monomyth, right? That is a story that plays better to a male audience. Why? Because it's about the hero's journey is intrinsic in the male experience. And it's an experience that is inherently male and uniquely male. And the facets and the different steps and the different parts of that journey are things that men resonate with because in some form or fashion, we all experience it at some point in time in our lives. That is not to say that you can't have a female go through the same thing, because we did. It's called the fucking Hunger Games, right? That is a female experiencing the hero's journey. Same thing with Red Sonja. Same fucking thing. So like, we've done it before. We've done it with female characters before. Now, I said all of that to say what? This is what I mean. Jen comes off as more arrogant in this as opposed to being more confident because she's the novice. When a junior, someone who had not earned their green yet, and funny enough, pun intended, are very green themselves, when they try to lecture the mentor character, which we all know, traditionally speaking, how well that bodes for the student, right? When that happens, that character tends to come off as unsympathetic. And that character tends to come off as fucking arrogant and unlikable and annoying and a know-it-all. And I hate to say this because it's a female character, but let's just be honest, a bitch. So when that happens, no one wants to see that. No one wants to see that. Now, here's the thing. That in and of itself did not bother me enough. Like that didn't bother me enough. Because like I said, elements of that are still in, like, those are still part of who Jen Walters is in the comics. But the fact that she is written with that modern woman's lens, that's when it's like, yeah, it's fucking cringeworthy. It's fucking cringeworthy. So I do get that argument and why people brought that up. I do get it. I get it. That being said, it wasn't enough to make me turn the fucker off. It wasn't. So I would at least give the show, the first episode, that credit. I didn't have to turn it off. Right? Now, some of that shit coming from her co-star, who I know is going to be, I think it's supposed to be like her number 2, like throughout the show, like her best friend or whatever. That shit and the shit that was going on at the beginning of the episode and at the end of the episode with Jen, her male colleague, and that paralegal who's her best friend, like that dynamic between those 3 characters, okay, that's the shit I couldn't fucking stand, because they made it seem as though that the man was quote unquote mansplaining to Jen and that he was trying to teach her how to do her job. First off, he is you're his junior. Okay, either that or y'all are at the same station, in which case, fine, feel however the way you want to feel. But the paralegal who did not do what they both did in order to get the titles they have, to get the positions and the jobs they have, that paralegal needs to shut the fuck up. You did, because, hey, Jen's argument in the episode, right? She said she has a problem with men who are trying to explain to her elements about her profession that she has studied years perfecting. Okay, fine, baby girl, I feel you. Cool. But if that's the case, your best friend, that paralegal, has no right to say anything to your colleague just because he's a man. That is double standard, hypocritical bullshit. And it's shit like that that will make me turn this fucking series off. Thank God, the first episode didn't really have that much. It only happened in 2 scenes. Notice it is the 2 scenes where that paralegal character is present. So just keep that in mind. Like, they've already set her up to be to be one of those. So all right. So other than that, though, getting back to the rest of the series. Okay, because we're still talking about execution, right? Like I said, outside of some of the stereotypical eye-rolling, post third wave feminists, the whole gun, the agenda, right? Outside of all the typical woke agenda stuff that we can dissect, that we know well enough. You know what? I probably should do a full video on that, because I'm not sure how much of my audience actually knows what I'm talking about whenever I bring those up in streams now. I know some of my diehard viewers, and especially like my patrons, some of the guys in the Discord, because we talk about it all the time when we're talking about like movies and TV shows that I don't review on the channel. Like that's when we talk about them, right? But at some point in time, let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do like sort of like a deep dive on that stuff. Because I'm not sure how many of my viewers are actually know what I mean when I say that stuff. But outside of that, the stereotypical, wokeness going on nowadays, that type of thing, and outside of the stereotypical tropes that we know most modern women are in entertainment, the way they're written now, especially American ones, outside of all the stereotypical gripes that you guys have heard from other reviewers and other channels and stuff like that, outside of that, Jen is fine. Like, she's not written that poorly, okay? Or at least not yet. But then again, we are also talking about a character who hasn't been the She-Hulk very long. So we don't know how much this will actually change her character moving forward. I'm hoping if it's done like the comics is done, it changes her character for the better, where she does become that more, it's like, again, confidence, not arrogance. You know what I'm saying? To quote the great Little Richard, I'm not conceited, I'm convinced. Like that sort of energy, like that is how She-Hulk should be. And I'm hoping it's more like that and less insufferable bitch. That's all I'm asking. But we'll see. But Bruce is good in this. I don't really get the big complaint about Smart Hulk or Professor Hulk. I don't really see why so many fans are upset about that character. I mean, because it is a completely separate character. I mean, Bruce even explained it himself. It was Banner, it was the Hulk, and then Smart Hulk is the amalgam of the two. So, like, it's not like, it is in many respects a different personality. It is a different character. He's not, like, even with the stuff that happens in this episode when Jen gets under his skin, he doesn't even respond to it the way either Hulk or Banner would have normally. Like, I don't know. I think he's suitable for this show, and particularly for this episode, because he has to mentor a young Hulk. So, like, all of that makes sense to me. Like, I don't see what the big complaint is about Smart Hulk. I guess if you're just an OG, original, traditional Hulk fan, you just want to see Hulk out. You just want to see him break shit and wreck stuff. So in that regard, okay, yeah, because Smart Hulk's not going to do that. But by that same token, Smart Hulk isn't nearly as powerful as regular Hulk is anyway. So, because we learned that in Endgame. So there it is. But I think he's fine. I think he's fine in this series. So, in this episode. So there's that. Now, the funny thing about that is, dude, that's pretty much all I got in terms of like characters, because the whole episode is pretty much them two for the most part. And like I said, it's like, the paralegal character, Jen's legal partner, like, they're barely in the episode. So I don't really have enough to really go off of to talk about them any more than I already have. So there's that. But yeah, other than that, I mean, everything else is fine. But I'm coming up. You know, we just passed the 25-minute mark, and I do want to read some of you guys' comments. So, like I said, get last call for comments now because I am getting ready to wrap this up. Again, if you want to make sure your comment or question gets read or answered live right here on the air, you can always drop a super chat before I wrap up tonight. But so now I'm going to get to, you know, pretty much the controversial stuff, the elephant in the room, the stuff that, you know, most people have been talking about in regards to the show. Like I said, I brought up the big one in regards to Jin's character. So that was the big one there. Of course, the big elephant in the room, the big green elephant in the room is the graphics, right? Because that was the real big complaint that everybody had from shit, even before the trailer came out, when we got pictures of some of the merchandise from the show. People were talking about it then, right? So let's talk about that. Suffice it to say, yeah, the CG isn't great. It's not. Now Hulk CG doesn't look bad. His is actually okay, but then again, of course, from what I've heard and from what I've read, the reason for it is because they didn't have to make any new models for this Hulk. They just this is the same model they pulled straight from Endgame. So they've used it before, they perfected it before. You know, it's an old tried and true model. They didn't have to build it from the ground up. Jin, on the other hand, is completely new, and it shows. Many times she looks like a video game character. She doesn't look real. She doesn't look like she actually belongs in the scene. She doesn't look like she belongs there. And of course, most CG artists and designers will be the first one to tell you she looks better in the dark than she does in the light. In the dark, she's not that bad. The scene when she first wakes up, when Hulk wakes her up with the fucking bullhorn, right, with the air horn, and so you know she transforms when she gets up. And, you know, she's shouting with them and making all the funny faces and stuff like that. Most of that scene, though, she's actually in the shadow. She doesn't look bad in the shadow. Or at night, she doesn't look bad. Like the bar scene, she doesn't look bad at the bar scene because it's dark, right? But in the daylight, when she's moving quickly, same thing. By and large, she looks like a big video game character. Now, I will say this, hopefully, because this is the first episode and most of the footage from the trailer came from this episode. So I'm hoping it's just as simple as it was rushed so that they could get it out for the trailers, because they did touch up some of the stuff from the trailers. Like some of the CG that was shown in the trailer that is in this show has been touched up, and you can tell. Dude, it was obvious because it didn't look like that before. So they did touch some of it up, but I'm hoping that the later episodes look better than this. I do worry though, because there are other scenes from later episodes that were in the trailer and that are in the commercials. They do a feature vignette at the end of this episode, you know, this season on She-Hulk. And they show some of those clips from those later episodes, and the CG still looks pretty rough. So I'm hoping it was the same thing too, like when they made that vignette, that they hadn't touched up that footage yet. That's what I'm hoping, but we'll see. But other than that, I mean, the music was pretty typical, especially for, you know, the Marvel, the Disney Plus Marvel series, especially since it's supposed to be like all contemporary and whatnot. It's pretty typical. The theme, I don't remember much about the theme. The problem is a lot of these themes all sound the same now. Like you can't really pull them apart, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I don't remember the theme all too much. Let me see. What else did I want to bring up about? I can't really talk much story because, again, like this is in the MCU's continuity. Can't really talk too much story about like what this is setting up for or what it's pivoting off of or what it could lead to, because we hadn't gotten into the main story proper. This episode was all backstory. So can't really comment too much about that. Like, again, other than the alien ship thing, which I'm assuming, my guess would be maybe a Secret Wars thing, maybe. Maybe. Because here's the thing about that. Hulk said it was how do you pronounce it? Scanarian? A Scanarian ship? Wasn't that the race of aliens that he was with during Planet Hulk, or was that World War Hulk? No, I think World War Hulk. Well, okay. Well, we adapted Planet Hulk. We didn't do World War Hulk, so maybe they could be setting something up for that. But I wanted, because isn't that the race that his son Scar is half of? That's where his name comes from. I want to say that's right, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and see what you guys are saying in the comments. Adam Q says someone must have paid $4,000 to make Larry review this. Shit, I wish, but no. And then even the Jean Paul said somebody paid for this. No, they didn't. I did it of my own volition. King Tachi says, hopefully this will make me want to watch the show. Adam Q responds with, you came to the wrong place, homeboy. Hey, look, like I said, the first episode was not bad, but I also think this will probably be the best episode of the series. Here's the other thing too, and I'm gonna go big screen with this one. Let me get back to the big screen for you guys. Here's the other thing about this too. Isn't this always the case with the Disney Plus Marvel shows? They always start off really hot and then they just fall off, if not halfway through, then by the fucking ending. Because we all know what happened with WandaVision. And for the record, dude, I was never really sold on WandaVision. But like WandaVision falls flat halfway through and then it never regains it, right? And then because it started up interesting enough, and then halfway through, man, it just falls off and it never regained. And then from what I heard, because I didn't see Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I heard Falcon and Winter Soldier kind of same thing. First 3-4 episodes good, and then the rest it just. And then I remember when Loki came out. Now I didn't care to watch that show at all. I had no interest in Loki whatsoever, but I knew people who were like gun ho about it, and they loved it and they sung its praises all season long. And then when the finale happened, they were like, okay, I was down with the show until the fucking finale. And it completely lost them. So these shows never had the reputation of sticking a landing or staying, like, the quality being consistent throughout. Like, none of these shows have had that. So I don't see why this one would be any different. You would hope for it because that would be a step in the right direction. That would be an improvement, but that's not a necessary guarantee. So. Okay. Dijon says, are you looking forward to Disney Plus Daredevil? I am not. Maybe she's more emotionally stable. Oh, that's my man, Mitsu Vagrant. My man Jay says maybe she's more emotionally stable. I don't know, just spitballing. Well, according to Jen, she says she doesn't lose her temper because she's more she spends more time controlling it because every time she's catcalled or mansplained to, she's angry. I'm like, baby girl, chill. You want some weed? You want, calm your nerves. Not every man who wants to talk, and they wonder why men don't want to be approaching women nowadays because of shit like that. Yeah. Because if you opened up your mouth and said some shit like that to me, I wouldn't want to fucking talk to your ass either. This shit is mutual, honey. It's not just one-sided. Let's see. Oh, Random Black Gamer is in the building. And he says, yeah, people need to be patient with Hulk. Smart Hulk is obviously an arc that's building up to something. Like, dude, I'm thinking, if I'm right on the race of alien, if the, again, I always mess up the pronunciation of it, but it's I think it's Skardarian. or Skardanian, if that is the same race that Hulk's son Scar is half of, then that's the race that Hulk was with during the events of World War Hulk. If memory serves, I want to say World War Hulk, not Planet Hulk, right? World War Hulk is when he went to their planet. That's when he gets shot off world, right? So if that's the case, then I'm assuming that's what they would be building up to. Again, those like mid 2000 Hulk series, Planet Hulk, World War Hulk, I'm fuzzy on those because I only read that once, and I read that back then. So you know, I'm what is it? Because what was that? 05? Yeah, so we talking 17 years ago. I'm real vague on it. But let's see. My man, the Big Sam Broski's in the building. What's happening, my brother? He says, I don't think the first episode did much for me to feel interested in watching this, to be honest. And Sam, like I said, dude, I think this is the only episode that's going to be like this. All the other episodes are going to be more like the last scene in this episode. And I don't mean the bar scene. I mean the courtroom scene. Ren Black Gamer says, definitely agree with the daylight scenes making the CG look a little wonky. The green needs to be toned down. Yes. Gives off Ang Lee Hulk vibe. Yeah, exactly. It's too green. I mean, dude, just look in this picture here. Look in this picture. Look, granted, remember what I said about the shadow, right? But like, look at, like, this is the proper tone green. This is too light, man. It's too saturated. It's too saturated. It needs to be, I don't want to say pastel, but it needs to be toned down, not in, it needs to be toned down in the sense of saturate, like it needs saturation. Bring the saturation down. The saturation's too high. The more color you add to something, the flatter you make it. Like you can't, if it's too saturated, you can't get a lot of value out of that. You got to bring that saturation down. Let's see. Black Death. Hey Larry, man, found you after 13 years, bro. I'm back. Well, hey, welcome back, man. Welcome back. Welcome back into the fold, my friend. Let's see. Trent is in the building. A big time with this show. I've keep pondering it. Let's see. Alice Williams, this is a name I don't recognize. Welcome. Says, wasn't Scar confirmed in the show? If so, they need to do World Breaker Hulk justice. Okay. I didn't know that he was, but now it's starting to make sense. Okay. Let's see. All right. Yeah, we're coming up on 40 minutes. We got to wrap this up. So chilling, bruh. Larry, you helped me realize my biggest issue with MCU Hulk is he's not really that strong like I think he should be, which is just a bummer to me. And it's hard for me to take Smart Hulk serious. See, that's what I'm saying. It's from what I noticed, it's the OG, like the legit Hulk fans, not the casual Hulk fans, the legit, like OG faithful Hulk fans that have the biggest criticism about Smart Hulk because it's not their Hulk. And I see where they're coming from because we hadn't done enough with, like, we haven't made another Hulk movie. We haven't been able to because Universal's had the film rights tied up. But I did hear those film rights revert back to Marvel next year. So stay tuned. Because like I said, this might be setting up for a World War Hulk movie. Okay. All right. So I think we're done here. So that's going to go ahead and wrap up this review for me. I want to thank everyone for watching live. Thanks everyone for watching after the fact. As always, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. All those links are in the description box below. As I said again, if you have yet to do so, if you want me to go ahead, do a first impression style television review, or if you're willing to hold out and you know, do okay. So here's the thing. First off, let me get this out there. If you want a first impression style review, you know, 1 episode, 2 episodes of a television series, want me to review, become a patron at patreon.com/OAW. Select the blockbuster tier. Now, here's the thing about the blockbuster tier. because I spoke about it before, but since you guys are still watching, if in case you're contemplating it, check it out. The blockbuster tier is redeemable for roughly is about 2 hours worth of content. That's why that's my tier for film reviews. If you want to, review a film. In the event you want to do a show long form, like you're talking seasons, you can go ahead, you can pledge to the blockbuster tier for multiple months and then redeem them for a full series review. If you're interested in doing it, my biggest blockbuster patron right now has actually done that for the last year, so that I can finally sit down and review Legend of Korra seasons 3 and 4, which those are coming down the wire within the next month or two. I'm gonna be reviewing both of those seasons. So finally wrapping up the Legend of Korra, because those are the last 2 seasons, the ones I've never reviewed, the ones I've never watched all the way through. Yeah, my biggest blockbuster patron has stayed a blockbuster patron that long so that I can finally go ahead and review those. So if you're interested in something like that too, become a patron, shoot me a message. Let me know what, hey, Larry, man, I want you to check out, season 1 of Better Call Saul or one of the seasons of The Sopranos or something, and then we'll work it out. But once again, that is patreon.com/OAW. I also have multiple tiers available in case you guys want maybe an anime review. Maybe you guys are, a top 5 or a discussion of the week. Multiple tiers available for each video type. Once again, patreon.com/OAW. So things are going to be kind of crazy in the next upcoming month. I say that because at the same time, I'm trying to get back to the channel. I also am in the process of looking for a second gig. So things are going to get kind of crazy. But stay tuned because I got some things coming up for you guys. Mainly the Cobra Kai seasons 1 through 4 reviews. I got about 3 weeks to get that done because season 5 kicks off on, I believe, September 9th. Yeah, is when that drops. So, and of course, when that drops, I'm going to have season 5 review ready for y'all. But I'm going to need all of y'all to tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow night, about 9:15, because y'all know I tend to run late. So about 9:15, no later than 9:30 Central Standard Time, right here on OAW, I will be giving you all my review of the pilot for House of the Dragon. Yes, that's happening tomorrow night, 9:15 Central Standard Time, House of the Dragon, episode 1 review. Stay tuned. And with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, signing off. And until tomorrow, peace.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?